Okay, hello everyone. Hello, and welcome to the virtual tour of intentional communities. My name is Cynthia, and here we are at the beginning of August for another virtual tour event where we sit down with a variety of intentional communities. And today we have scheduled all communities that are in North Carolina. And if you're tracking the weather right now, North Carolina is currently in the eye of the hurricane. So we have already had one community, Earth Haven Ecovillage, be unable to attend. But we do have Lucas here from Ground Ecovillage, so I'm really glad that Lucas is able to join. And I actually think that Harvey is here with us. So let me bring Harvey onto the stage from Living Well Ecovillage. Hi, Harvey. Glad you're
Hey,
here.
good. Is my mic on?
Yeah, we can hear you well. And I'm
Great.
just getting started, so you haven't missed anything. But Harvey, I think we'll have Lucas go first, and then we'll have you go, because it can be a little tricky getting the screen share set up, and Lucas is already set up.
Super. Just so you know, my internet is going in and out, so hopefully it'll stay in.
Okay. All right. Yeah, hopefully we'll still have you. And I really appreciate you both being here today. This is the second time this summer that we've had to cancel the event or have a different event than planned due to flooding on the East Coast. So it's what's happening right now in the world, and we're doing the best we can. So I'm going to quickly run through my intro presentation, and then we'll get started. And I also want to appreciate everyone who is here watching this event. I'm really glad that you can join us today amidst whatever might be happening in your world. So here we are for the virtual tour of intentional communities. And today we have Living Well Ecovillage and Common Ground Ecovillage with us. So this is an event that is being hosted on StreamYard. So I know many of you are actually in the StreamYard and you're here with us in the comments. Would really love your full engagement. And then I know we have many people who are watching on Facebook and YouTube. And just for you folks, we'll be able to see your comments, but we won't be able to reply directly in the comments for you all. And if you want to go ahead and register for an upcoming virtual tour event where you can participate via StreamYard, you can do that at ic.org/events. And yeah, I mentioned using the comments box. Really encourage that, especially for the people that are here with us in StreamYard. I see many of you have already put in hello and where you're calling in from. We have folks from Northern California, Las Vegas, Kentucky, Ohio, Florida, really all over the United States, New Hampshire. Oh my goodness, I love that. So if you haven't introduced yourself already and you want to go ahead and do that, or if you have introduced yourself, but maybe you want to add a little bit more about why you're here, why you've taken the time to join today's event, what do you hope to get out of today's session, I'd really love to know that. I'd also love to know if you live in an intentional community, if you could share the name and location of your community. And also leave me a note if you think you might be up for being a presenter on one of our next events. So we're always looking for more communities to present. All right, so take a moment, find the chat, and put in a little message for us. And remember that as much as this is an opportunity to learn about our presenting communities, it's also an opportunity to connect with the other people in this space. All people who are interested in intentional community from all across the United States. So yeah, really use this for the networking opportunity that it is. Okay, so while you're doing that, I'm going to share a few more things about our series. So we've been doing these virtual tour events for over 2 years. So that means there is a plethora of interviews and recordings and insights into intentional communities, all available on the Foundation for Intentional Communities YouTube channel. So go over there and you can watch past virtual tours and a bunch of other great videos that they have all about intentional communities. And this event is a joint production of the FIC, the Foundation for Intentional Community, and an organization that I run called Community Finders. So I'll just mention here briefly, if you're not aware, FIC is a 30-plus-year-old nonprofit organization that puts on events like this and all kinds of courses and books and programs. They also have a very large directory of intentional communities that's all available at ic.org. So if you feel like making a donation to support IC, they would greatly appreciate it. As I mentioned, they are a nonprofit organization. And then the organization that I'm part of, Community Finders, many of you are joining because you are members of our Community Finders Circle. So this is an ongoing membership program where we support people in helping them find communities to join. And I do a lot of that work myself as this community matchmaker, really giving people specific recommendations for communities that could be a fit for them. And you can learn more about that at communityfinders.com. And lastly, we have one other event sponsor today, and that is Ecovillage Tours. Ecovillagetours.com is the website. And we specifically focus on bringing groups on travel experiences to communities. And indeed have put together this travel guide ebook if you're interested in that. It's a free guide where I've written about how you contact a community, how you visit one, packing list recommendations, good questions to ask while you're visiting a community. So you can get all of that at ecovillagetours.com/guidebook. All right. Okay. I think that's all of my advertisements. Thank you for listening. And now we can prepare to listen to our presenters. So for everyone who's participating today, I really invite you to remove any distractions, maybe have something to drink nearby. We're going to be together for about an hour or so. I think this will be a little shorter of an event since we only have 2 communities this time. Really good to have some note-taking material if you'd like. And just maybe take a deep breath, relax, roll your shoulders back, let go of whatever else may have happened earlier in your day, and prepare to give your full attention to our presenters. And we're going to start with Common Ground Ecovillage. So we have Lucas here with us, and this is a more of a community information. So we always try to invite a mix of communities. Sometimes they're more established, sometimes less so. And I'm really excited to hear the latest from Lucas about how things have been developing there at Common Ground.
That's all right. So into the portal of Common Ground. This is a view from the western entrance from the road. We're just a couple miles north of Interstate 40 in the North Carolina Research Triangle area, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. We're on the west side of that. I have a map demonstrating that. It was going to come in and fly in real nice, just to point out where we are. We're actually closer to the urban areas of Burlington, and Mebane is a small city, but a lot of our energy flows and most of our members are actually from Durham and Chapel Hill. We're also at the edge of a watersheds. So the road that we take to get into the land, Fraser Road, separates the Eno River watershed, which flows here to the east into Hillsborough onto Durham, from the Haw River watershed, so further south. Maybe I can just move this and see if you can see. Yeah, so it's gonna be in presentation mode, and all those animations we're gonna fly in, but deleting this on the fly. So this is our parcel of land. So it's 112 acres, mostly wooded. It's kind of like the shape of Massachusetts, long east to west, a bit of a handle. The land was purchased back in 2015 from one of the original members or people involved. The land was clear cut in 1999, so we're very much reinvigorating this landscape, helping this landscape heal. A big feature on the landscape is our grandmother oak. It's really old, very prominent oak tree, center of activity. We have a little pavilion space by there and a fire circle. Have our solstice equinox gatherings there and a monthly potluck. So very majestic tree, and I love practicing yoga there, reading, reflecting. So yeah, we had a group of folks come together in 2008 to talk about an eco-village in this central Piedmont of North Carolina, the Research Triangle, and things began developing in 2012. They found this parcel of land and got to know the previous landowner. Came up with some of our foundational community agreements and practices, like using sociocracy as a governance structure, using consent-based decision-making, really valuing nonviolent communication. And even though some of those things are more rigidly adhered to as others, the initial group and those people that have been with us for 12 years now, a couple of them, really set the tone for what practices and how we would operate as a community. So an LLC owns the 112-acre parcel of land. The LLC has about 20 members in it. And then the LLC kind of delegates responsibility and decision-making to Common Ground Ecovillage, which is a sociocratic governance structure. So while this was all happening, COVID started. They'd come up with this very big plan for 35 to 40 residences. It was going to be a housing cooperative, but that fell through when COVID started. Prices rose. There was member attrition. Folks left the area, just got less enthused with the project. And things kind of came to a halt in 2021, 2022. But even while that was happening, people were devoting energy to the land. Two initial farmers got involved in 2015, Jeffrey and Margaret. They were selling produce at the Chapel Hill Farmers Market, and they had first kind of cultivated a half acre, then they expanded it to 1 acre. A couple natural buildings were built, a well, pump house, slip straw, a nice cob, small cottage, some biochar, a lot of organic farming happening. Doug Jones arrived in 2019, got involved, and then moved his farming operation out here in 2020. And he brought over 50 years of organic farming experience to the community and his CSA business. So farming operations really got expanded. And then there was a community built barn that began in 2018 and finished in 2020. This was a great project that allowed people to come together and create a space that could be a gathering space, at least most seasons of the year. Built on some shipping containers, so it's a really unique architectural design. We have one mural of the sunrise over on the east wall, and then the sunset over on the west wall. There's a second floor. There's a loft with a little bed for folks to sleep over, just take naps in, and there's a kitchen upstairs. And then over the past year and a half since I've been involved in the community, we've really focused on how to create more community out here, get more people participating in the garden, on the landscape, community meals. We got a grant to build a pack and wash area for the CSA business. It used to be our cool bot was kind of on the other side of the barn, and so we were walking back and forth tons, but we were able to move our business operations over to the pack and wash area, opening up space underneath the barn for more events. This was when the floor back in May was not totally finished, but we just landscape fabric down, very rudimentary, brought clay in from the land to just do a little packed earth, roughly smooth floor. This is the finished pack and wash area. It's really helped with the efficiency and getting getting more food out to neighbors and members of our CSA. We have about 75 member households now, week to week, maybe 60 folks average order each week. And we get veggies to folks in Durham, Chapel Hill, a couple other places. We have an on-farm pickup, and week to week, we have about 15 items to choose from. So we really pride ourselves on a lot of diversity, implementing a lot of season extension with low tech methods like this caterpillar tunnels without any energy going into there to maintain the climate, just with plastic and cloth fabrics. Got a little open air country kitchen set up this spring as well, which has just been a centerpiece of community meals. We have a farm lunch every Tuesday at 1 p.m. So anyone on this stream, if you're ever in the area, love to have you drop in for a farm lunch. You can reach out to us about that. We had a pizza night that was really special a couple months back. But yeah, the garden space is expanding, herb gardens, more perennial plants. I'm really interested in permaculture. That's my background. I completed a year-long apprenticeship in Rancho Mastatal in Costa Rica back in 2022. And upon returning to the United States, I immediately got involved in this landscape. We completed a prescribed burn back in February of 18 woodland acres, and I hope we get to do more of that on other areas of the land, because that's a very important tool for improving the forest ecology as that ecosystem recovers. Yeah, just a lot of mulch, a lot of no-till agriculture out here, really trying to tend to the soil, tend to the land in very healthy ways. Planting a lot of cover crop. This is crimson clover. Last year we were on the CFSA Carolina Farm Stewardship Association farm tour. Like 30 to 40 locations in the Triangle are open for tours in April for a weekend. And that was a great way to host over 200 people throughout the weekend and show people what we've got growing in the garden. Some tomato canning. We just did our yearly, now it's been 2 years in a row, tomato canning work party, getting tons of quarts of tomatoes processed. And so in this transition to a smaller community plan, we've rescinded our previous zoning. That just actually happened 2 days ago, or actually last night at the county planning office. So we reverted our zoning so that we can do something specific to Orange County here in North Carolina, a flexible subdivision conservation cluster. That gives us the potential of a maximum of 12 lots. I have 10 on the screen here. We still have to put in traditional septic systems, drip fields, because that's what Orange County requires. But you can see our big farm and then this big open field now that is no longer devoted to an integrated community-wide septic. We were going to pump everything from the 35 to 40 residences east to this field. But now this field is totally opened up for maybe staple crops, maybe some holistic management type intensive grazing, maybe alley cropping and orchards. We really have a wide open ball field. We're just trying to get a site plan finalized and get that submitted to the county, and perhaps be beginning the infrastructure. We really need a road and some earthworks to manage the stormwater runoff from the development. But we're hoping to start that infrastructure next spring, if all goes well with the financing. That's the big question is, are we going to have to pay it upfront, or are we going to be able to pay things over time via financing within our membership, people giving loans out, or finding a financial institution that will support us. But just a beautiful landscape here, and that's what I really love about this place. We have about a 2-acre pond, and yeah, the future is bright here. I'm really excited about the community that we're creating, and thanks for attending and listening to this, and look forward to any questions folks have.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Lucas. That was awesome. I know I have a lot of questions. I would invite people who are listening to type your questions into the comments box, and then I'll pull those up to ask. But I guess the first question, Lucas, how can people get involved? Are you looking for members? How can people support what's going on there?
Definitely for folks that already have plans to move to this area. Some members have joined on over the past few months because they had plans to move here and they were interested in Titchell communities. So once they landed, they really got involved on the land. Our Zoom meetings for the governance structure, they are open to folks that aren't in the area. So we do have links about that. There's an email on the website. You can join our members list. You can also sign up for our monthly almanac to get more information about current happenings.
Oh, great. And the website,
commonground.eco.
Okay, commonground.eco.
The monthly almanac is a great way to see what events are happening and which ones are virtual and which ones are just in person here on the land, because there tend to be at least a couple of virtual events a month for people to learn more.
Okay, okay,
most
great.
members are here, but there is one very active participating member who's in Colorado right now.
Interesting. Right. So I just want to recap or let people know who maybe joined a little later. So Common Ground is a community that's been in development for a long time and has gone through different iterations of planning, and currently is mostly a farm, a CSA organic farm, but you don't have anyone who's living on site. Is that true?
Not formally via the county's eyes, but yeah, a couple of people do stay here most of the time.
Okay, no one's living there. Okay. And when did you join the community?
At the very end of 2022. I literally flew from Costa Rica to North Carolina. My partner picked me up from the airport, took me out here, and ever since I've been very devoted here.
You've been very devoted. Okay. What is the mood like? Because it's a pretty big shift to go from 30 plus units, this big village, now to 12. How are people feeling about that? Yeah.
Well, definitely there was a lot of grief and sadness and disappointment from some of those longer term members. I think right now 4 members have been around since 2012. So a couple people from that more original group. And they definitely hold a lot of disappointment because they have really grand, ambitious vision for the community. For someone like me, the newcomers and a lot of our membership, there's a lot of enthusiasm for what's going on now and the possibility of having some established just regular development happening in the eco-village style. Like obviously we want to incorporate a lot of natural building, but we're operating within the restrictions of what our county is offering when it comes to how we can develop. But most of the members that have joined over the past few years are really excited about where we're currently at and all the action in the garden and in the community spaces. And we're hoping to start with the infrastructure next year.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, it sounds like the septic has been one of the bigger challenges in terms of the county and what they'll allow. Yeah.
Yeah, it just in general, the infrastructure that we need to have a long road to get in from the county road and the septic. There's just hundreds of thousands of dollars of initial infrastructure that banks generally, at least the ones we've talked to, aren't super enthusiastic about offering financing to folks for the infrastructure. The homes are a different story.
Gotcha. Okay. And do you envision yourself being in one of those 12 units?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah, very much so. Excited to have a main house and a lot of community amenities, community shared services like a shared laundry space, shared kitchen, some other shared community spaces so that all of our homes can be much smaller than the average here in the United States. And we can really be devoting a lot of energy to that shared common aspect of community.
Yeah. Okay. And are the other 12 units spoken for?
No, so it hasn't been platted out yet, those lots, because we don't have a finalized site plan and we haven't submitted that to the county to get approval. So we're hoping for, up to 12 lots, and we can do up to 5 bedrooms on each lot. So that'd be 60 total bedrooms. And then we can put an accessory dwelling unit on all the lots. So maximum situation would be 23 dwellings for people. And some of those might have efficiency suites attached. So we still theoretically could have a lot of folks living here if we get 60 bedrooms permitted for septic. But there's a trade-off of, to do that, we would have to clear out some forest space a little bit and mess with the land a lot more. So we might be shooting for something more like 40 bedrooms and less intensive development. But each lot can have an accessory dwelling unit on it. So it creates 2 potential dwellings on each lot, which gives us, a lot of capacity.
Oh, yes, I see. Okay. Yeah, that could still be pretty sizable. Remind me, how many acres is the land total?
112 acres.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we're putting about 50 acres in conservation easement on the eastern boundary by the wetlands.
Mhm.
We'll put that into conservation for perpetuity.
Amazing. Oh, so cool. Do you have a sense for the timeline now?
Yeah, if things go smoothly, which lately things have, over the last year, things have been going relatively smoothly. I know it's a wild world out there, but for us, we're chipping away at things. But yeah, starting the infrastructure next February, and maybe by next fall, beginning the building of some homes.
Okay, wow, very exciting. And it's not the way you initially imagined, but the work you're doing is really setting the precedent and hopefully making it easier for more communities to develop in your area.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
really awesome. A lot of kudos to you. Yeah, amazing work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes, Larry, for sure. We'll be sending out the recording. Sorry that you're having internet problems. Yeah, Lucas, are you how connected is Common Ground with Living Well? Because I know you two aren't too far away.
We have a couple members who I got to know a bit last year who left Common Ground to move to Living Well, because Living Well is much more established and has situations where folks can live now. And so I've never been to Living Well. I really want to go. I've heard Harvey present at CFSA. Doug tells me stories about Harvey from time to time. So I want us to get more connected. We are, I don't know, a 40-minute drive away. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, I would really like there to be a network of intentional communities and land projects that strengthens and cross-pollinates over the years here. And I'm still relatively new to the Triangle area, so yeah, building up those connections is important.
Yes, here. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Lucas. Thank you for your presentation. Yeah, now we'll go to the legend, the man, Harvey. Harvey, we've talked on the phone once before. I'm really glad that you're able to join here today, and I'm excited to hear about Living Well.
Yeah, and you'll have to talk me through how to have this come up.
Okay, let's do it. So you click on the present button, and then you'll click on share screen.
Where's the present button?
If you look at the bottom of your browser.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
All right.
And then share screen. And then
Okay.
should be some options. Do you have your presentation open?
I do.
Google? Is it a Google slide?
No, I just have it on my computer.
Okay. Maybe if you see 3 tabs at the top, you could click entire screen. Here, I'll do it with you so I can see. Yeah, entire screen. So there's tab, window, entire screen.
I don't see that.
Or window. Choose what you want to share with StreamYard.
I have a share screen button.
Yep, share screen. Yep, click that.
Okay.
And then what do you see?
It says allow StreamYard.com to see your screen.
Okay.
Allow.
Yep. Okay, here we go. Good. Now we can see what you're seeing. So if you want to go into the present mode, yeah, from beginning. Yep.
Does that show up for you? Or is it still in the...
It's still in the view. We don't see the full screen yet.
So I had to translate this into PowerPoint from a different one. So it shows a little different than I'm used to seeing it. So...
Okay, maybe click on from beginning over there on the left-hand side. Yep. Okay, great. We got it. Good. Thank you. Good job.
Okay, and how do I advance it on this?
Maybe click your arrows. Yep, there you
Okay.
go.
All right, great. So Living Well Eco Village, really appreciated Lucas's comments and some of the story that they've dealt with, and that's helpful. I see there's a lot of people that are thinking about starting an intentional community eco village or joining one. So part of the issue is just it's a challenge to make it happen, and part of it is getting all that initial infrastructure work, approvals, etc. So Living Well Eco Village was fortunate enough to buy a property that already had some of that started, which helped, but it still has taken us, we're almost 20 years into it so far. And we bought the property originally in 2007. First house was finished in 2014. There's now 12 houses finished and 3 more under construction and other things there, which we'll get into. So these are some of the things that I think are kind of unique about our eco village. They're not unique. There are other ones that have similar, so it's not necessarily unique specifically to us, but there are things that come to the forefront for me. One is just the natural beauty. I had a picture of the site plan, so I'm not sure that disappeared. So maybe I can find that in the future. Anyway, so Living Well is 128 acres in a town, bordered on one side by the Deep River, which you're seeing a picture of now. This is a Native American fish weir that was built in the river pre-settler time, so pre-1700. Not sure exactly how old it is, but it was used to funnel and trap fish. Very effective way to harvest fish from the river. So it's bordered on one side by, it's actually bordered on 3 sides by water. So it has about a mile of frontage on the river on one side and almost that much frontage on a major tributary creek on the other side. And it comes together in a point where the two meet. And so it's the ridge between the river and the creek. And it also has a regional greenway rail trail that crosses the property and parallels the river, which connects us into downtown Franklinville and also into the neighboring town Ramsor. And now there's a lot of momentum to keep extending this. So right now it's about 3.5 miles, and the goal is to have it go completely through the county. So maybe all the way up to Greensboro eventually. So for us, it's a great asset because it's an easy way to get out and be in nature, and it's right on our doorstep. A lot of folks sort of say they feel like it's sort of like living in your own state park. So we have the river. We have we've set aside 53 acres conservation area to buffer the river and the creek, so that stays natural. And then there's the greenway. This is a community member, Pat, walking on the greenway actually yesterday. Another thing that's been really enjoyable and helpful is just people have developed a lot of support for each other, both to do things together, but also to offer each other various kinds of support, especially during times of, unique emergencies, a health care issue or birth of a child, passing of a family member, etc. And people generally like to work together. Some of the things that help build community together are mutual support, common work, sharing meals, bigger vision connection or framework for what you share in common, singing together, informal times where there's just general conversation, and working together is one of the really helpful ones. So here people are building pads for water catchment. All the buildings at Living Well are required to catch water, both to make use of that resource on site, but also to help mitigate the impacts of stormwater by the impervious surfaces of buildings and roads, etc. So this is happened. This work happened in July. It's a community meeting in the community structure. For a community structure, we have a kind of like a picnic pavilion. It's about 1,000 square feet. We didn't used to have that. It's fairly recent. The community, when it started, decided not to build a community common structure, mainly because of the cost of that and not wanting to burden people with that extra cost. But over time, it's become more and more important. And since COVID, we've been doing meetings outside or in areas like this that have a lot of open spaces. This structure is, and let me check, you can hear me okay, correct?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay. So this structure is designed so that it can be closed in over time and could be a closed-in building as well. So the thought is that it would get built over time to eventually be that. But it's 1,000 square feet, one big room, so can handle quite a few different activities, and it's used a lot, not just for community meetings, but also for lots of informal things. Yoga group gets together there. There's lots of we have a fun committee now that organizes things like game night or kind of a quarterly birthday party for everyone who's had a birthday party in the last couple of months, etc. So it just provides a space for all those things, including music and other activities that people want to see happen. A lot of sharing of skills. People who are attracted to something like an eco-village often have some skills or have a desire to develop skills. A third thing that I think is helpful for us is we do have a common vision and 4 core values. So these are our 4 core values: sustainability and environmental stewardship, health and wellness, honoring the sacred, and service to the greater good. I will say kind of a revelation has been that these are sort of general goals, big goals, and it's been pretty easy for people to affirm them. But when you get more specific about what does that mean and how do we implement them, there can be a lot of divergence in people's thoughts about that. So just an observation that having kind of broad goals is helpful, but it's also important to realize that how people might interpret those could be very different. So just agreeing on broad goals doesn't necessarily mean when it comes down to how those get applied, there's always agreement. So sustainability, this is a community garden with the deer fence around it. This was taken, most of these pictures were taken yesterday, so they're current. It's great to hear about Common Ground's efforts with farming. Each eco-village has its things that it can do well. It's hard to do everything. We have a high priority on growing food, but I would say we're more connected to that as a part of it, but that because we're in town and have city water and sewer and internet, fiber optic cable, etc., our mix is a little different, which is helpful too. So this is a community orchard, and it's modest, but the community has a goal of planting something like 7 to 10 fruit trees a year. And so while that's modest, if you do that every year for 20 years, you have quite a substantial orchard developed. And it's not just this orchard is fenced in to keep the deer out. And it doubles as an area where people who have animal pets, particularly dogs, can bring them and let them off leash to run. We're in town, so animals have to be in the control of their owner by ordinance, which means that if you're not on your property, your animal has to be on leash, ideally. And this is a place where people can come, and especially dogs that are younger, have a lot of energy. It's been helpful for them to have a place where they can let the dogs release some of that energy. This is a compressed earth block house. We do a lot of different kinds of building construction. You'll see some of them here. This is a compressed earth block house getting a plaster coat. We're a rural small town. We're actually in a town. The town of Franklinville location is, as Lucas said, probably about 40 minutes from where they are, but we're directly south of Greensboro. So about 30 miles south of Greensboro, but about 70 miles west of Raleigh and about 85 miles northeast of Charlotte. So we actually have 7 million people within an hour and 15-minute drive of us. So it's rural, but it's close to lots of bigger things for an occasional connection with all of those things that, particularly cultural things that a larger city can provide, as well as like specialty grocery stores or other things that you may want to connect with relatives or friends coming to visit and needing to come by train or airplane, etc. A combination of private and community. So people own their lots individually. They own the house that their lot is on. It's owned fee simple. But then there's community property as well. So this is the community structure I mentioned before that we just finished recently. These are two examples of smaller houses on small lots that people own individually. So each of these houses is approximately 450 square feet. They're on a lot that's 1/12 of an acre. We have varying size lots from this size, the smallest, to ones that are almost an acre in size. It's a community pizza oven. It's a nice thing to have as a community because not everyone needs to have a pizza oven, but it's nice to have one that you can use if you want to. This is some more community spaces. Blueberries in the forefront. There's the community cob oven to the left. In the back, there's a shared tool shed. People who have tools that they use infrequently and want to donate to the community but still have access to them get stored there. People can sign them out. So it's a way of not everyone having to needing to have every tool, and also of being generous by sharing the tools you have with others. I would say that one of the tools that gets used the most is the battery-powered lawnmower, because people have small yards but need to cut grass periodically. So there's a battery-powered lawnmower that can get recharged. We're setting up a solar recharger for it at the moment. So it gets used. That's one example of a tool that gets shared by multiple people and is widely used. We have a diversity of buildings and housing, different size and architectural style. A lot of people comment, one thing they really appreciate is the diversity of architectural styles. It's fun walking around the neighborhood, and they vary in size. So this is one that was finished a year or so ago. Probably one of the larger ones, 2,200 square feet approximately. Has a full basement under it. But then this is the smallest one. This is 12 by 24, so 288 square feet. We have no maximum or minimum size requirements. We do have a lot of green building requirements. They're on our website, or I can get them to you. The main ones are related to energy efficiency. We don't have any requirements related to architectural style or color of house paint or any of those typical things. They're all related to green building principles. And people vary. Everyone likes to, most everyone is really passionate about gardening, but the gardens look different depending on your personality and what you want. This is actually the first house that was built at the community. And as you can see here in other pictures, everyone's required to capture rainwater. There's a couple more houses. Okay, let me see if I can.
You're going to try to find the site map?
Yes.
Okay.
Did that show up?
No, looks like you came out of the screen share, so you'll need to go back and do that again.
Okay.
Yeah, and for everyone listening, we right now are hearing from Living Well Ecovillage in North Carolina near Greensboro. And the community we heard from before with Lucas is Common Ground Ecovillage. So you have that context. I know there were some questions, and welcome to everyone who joined a little later. Glad that you're here with us now. And yeah, you can find the recording of this on all of the different places that we're streaming, including on the Foundation for Intentional Communities YouTube channel. That's where this will be if you want to go and watch again later. All right. I also want to mention, since I have this time, we do this event every month, usually on the first Thursday of the month. And our aim is every month to have 3 different communities presenting. And looks like we got it up, so we can see now, Harvey, what you're seeing.
Yes, but it's still not the right one, so.
Oh, bummer.
Okay, well, we can send it out a different way. But anyway, I may play around with it, but happy to open it up or however you'd like to proceed.
Okay, sure. Yeah, if there are questions for Harvey about Living Well Community, I really would encourage you to put those in the chat. Harvey, I'm curious. So you had mentioned that from the time when the land was acquired to the first house being built, that was 7 years. Is that right?
That's correct. Wow. Of course, what happened in there was bought it in 2007, and then the housing crash happened in 2008.
Okay.
And so it was kind of on hold for a couple years. Bank started foreclosure at one point, because they were very worried about, nervous about, especially you have an alternative project, but just in general, if things aren't progressing fast enough, they feel vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So, which is part of the other challenges. How do you finance an eco-village?
Mm-hmm.
There's basically 2 ways. You get initial investors of some kind to put up the capital, and then a way to have them paid back over time. or you get a group organized enough, and then they together put up the capital or get a bank loan or whatever. That's a slower process and sometimes more challenging. Each of them has its challenges. There are probably other ways too, but one way or another, somebody has to, some entity has to secure the land.
So how did you do it there at Livingwell?
Well, my wife and I bought the property originally. It wasn't really set out as an eco-village at the beginning. It was set aside as like another green neighborhood, but not necessarily an eco-village. But, you know, with the housing crash in 2008, and the more we worked with the piece of land, we just sort of felt like it had more potential than just, you know, even a green neighborhood. It could be something more than that. And then over time, we worked with a group of people who became sort of the core group, and they kind of revisioned the project, and that's what set the vision for what it is now.
Okay. And what was that transfer like from you owning the land to another entity, or do you still own the land? How is that?
So it was set up that when a certain number of parcels were sold, the main decision making would transfer to the community. So that happened in sometime, I think, 2017. And we thought we had a pretty good transition in place, but it was a little bumpier than we thought it would be. So so the main decision making is all done by the community. We still own parts of the property, so that'll get developed and sold over time. But generally, decision making is fully with the community. We have a voice as a member, but not more than that typically. Okay. The only place we have more of a voice at the moment is the community had initial restrictive covenants, and that was things for like the green building requirements, etc. And those were worked in 2018 when transition happened to the larger group, you know, full transition happened to the larger group. And so that was done through a consensus process. And by state law, we're organized legally as a homeowners association, because you have to, for property to be owned, there has to be a legal entity. So an individual, an LLC, a nonprofit. So for us to transfer common property, it had to transfer to a legal entity. So the HOA is incorporated and as a nonprofit, and that's who owns the common property. I was going to say something else about that, but
yeah. Well, I can appreciate, because I've heard from other communities and experienced in my own community, the transition from a single owner or a couple owning the land into a group thing. That can be hard. But it's also how many communities get started is with, you know, somebody having access to more resources or land. Appreciate that.
Well, I know the point I was going to make. So the covenants were renegotiated through a consensus process. And the one place we still do have a little more say than other people is that by state statute, the planned development ordinance in North Carolina, the covenants can only have to be changed. Everyone has to have one lot has one vote. So it's in everything else. We try to do consensus, but we have to follow state statute related to that. So
okay. Cool.
Lucas, how are you organized legally?
We're working on that because our organization's going to have to shift when we actually start having those being built on the land. So as of now, we have an LLC, but we're hoping to have an educational nonprofit, some kind of farmers cooperative, and then maybe a homeowners association for those 12 residential lots.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, still in flux, figuring out what will be the best path forward.
Yeah, and it's a challenge because all of them have positives and negatives. Those choices, how you organize. Oftentimes, none of them are perfect in and of themselves for your unique situation. So you're working within. You're trying to find something that's good enough, and then you have to try to make it work for your situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I sometimes see communities employ multiple legal entities for multiple purposes and then figure out the relationships between them. And yeah.
Well, it's important because it's not just important for how governance happens, but it's also important for like how to transition when somebody wants to leave the community or join the community. So that's why those things matter. You want to minimize, you want everything to be as clean and clear as possible for how those transitions happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Harvey, we have a question from Leslie. She's asking about cats and if cats are allowed to be outdoors in your community.
So that's a complex question for us. It's probably been one of the, went to a co-housing conference some years ago, and they were saying like the 3 P's that for co-housing that people have very strong discussions about tend to be parking, because this is co-housing, so mostly the parking's away from on the edge of the buildings. So parking, pets, and I think the other one was parenting, maybe.
Parenting, yes.
But anyway, we're in town, and our ordinances, and our town has animal ordinances, which say animals need to be on your property or in your control. So it's been a big discussion in our community because cats are hard to control. So some people have put up like cat fencing who have cats. We have multiple people who have cats in the community, and some of them who have outdoor cats or indoor outdoor cats. Some people who just have indoor cats. So the community is not negative towards cats, but it's been a big discussion about outdoor cats. One, because of the ordinance, but also because of the issue of, they're predators. So songbirds, lizards, other, at what point are they too detrimental to that balance? So we basically discourage outdoor cats, but we don't look at it as a like one size fits all either. We have some people who have very strong feelings about cats need the option of being outside and not always easy to control in a small space outside. So we just have it on our website as an ongoing discussion, and then in general, we encourage everyone to follow the town ordinances, which are animals need to stay on your property.
Okay. Oh, I thought that was an innocent question. Little did I know how complex.
Well, I want to also say you're hearing everything through one person's filter. So another person of Living Well community, Living Well Ecovillage, might have a different interpretation. So I just want to be upfront about that. I only speak for myself and my understanding. And I think it is fair to say that it is an ongoing discussion, but it's been a challenging one.
Yeah, I hear that. Gosh. And Harvey, did you mention, are you looking for more members? Do you have more home sites available?
We do. We have multiple home sites available for sale and multiple areas we can develop for the future. Um, Presently, what's for sale are building lots, and then you would have to build your own house or get a builder, and follow the green building requirements. I will say that's been a challenge for folks, especially with the cost of building presently. The costs have gone up so much. I work as a builder, so I work actually for Habitat for Humanity as a builder. So I deal with that all the time, and it's been a challenge for people both presently in the community, but more so people thinking of joining because the costs are higher than they used to be. Not related to us so much, but related to just the cost of building.
I see. But you have had in the past already built homes come up for sale.
Yes, from time to time, a house will come up for sale. Like I said, we have 12 houses finished, 3 under construction. So it's not like we have hundreds of houses, so that more would come available regularly. But it does happen from time to time, and we post it on our website when it does. They, yeah, it's. I would say people buying a lot and building a house is harder for people to do than if there's an existing house available, because there's more things involved. But also, people may not be looking for exactly what's for sale. If it's a 450 square foot house and they have 3 children, that may not be the fit that works.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. Well, it's good to know that there are opportunities there to join.
One other comment. The thing that's changed dramatically for us, or we think it will change even more, and Lucas, I imagine you face this too. Our area, we're pretty rural, and it's been kind of slow growth area, but that's changed pretty rapidly in the last year. Even more so where Lucas is. A lot of development pressure coming from the triangle our way. But now there's 2 mega sites being developed within 30 minutes of us. Mega sites being very large. One's a Toyota battery plant, and one's a chip manufacturing plant. So like that. The Toyota plant will have like 5,000 employees, maybe 8,000. The chip plant will have 2,000. So big influx of people for us being more rural, pretty big influx of people, including all the jobs that go with it. So I'm not saying it's negative. It's not negative. It's it's trade-off, but it is changing the dynamic, along with all the other development pressure for Central North Carolina. And Lucas may want to comment on that too.
Sure. Yeah, Lucas, I don't know if you heard that, but an influx of businesses and people coming to a rural area, and how that might be impacting the community. Are you seeing any of that where you are?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of population growth with both the Research Triangle, Durham, Chapel Hill, but then also west of us, Mebane and Burlington. And we're close to the county line, so we're in Orange County, and Orange County is not expected to grow as much as Durham County or in Alamance County west of us, where Burlington is. But still, there's been tons of agricultural land lost to development over the last decade here, like I think at least 33% of it, which is a really high number. And yeah, we're really close to the interstate, so I think the county wants to see a bit more high density things happening over the coming decades here. But I think things are so uncertain in the world from my end that we're just yeah, hoping to tend to the land here in good ways and get some, lots set up and some building happening here. And be in that kind of intermediate, like what an example of what healthy development could actually look like instead of harmful on the land.
I love that. Yeah, I think you both are really strong examples of healthier development, greener development, more sustainable, more resilient. So really appreciate everything you're both doing in your communities. Yeah, I think we're gonna slowly start to wrap up. Would encourage if anyone listening has final questions, now is a good moment to ask them. I wonder, so what I've been hearing in both of your stories is a struggle at times to interface with the town and the municipality and the county where you find yourself. And I'm curious, how can eco villages and intentional communities have better relationships to make more of these projects happen? Do we just need more communities and that helps the idea become more palatable? Is there other work that a new community could do now to build stronger relationships? Go ahead, Harvey. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see two questions on the chat, which can I answer real quickly and then go into your question?
Yep.
So we're not off grid, although it's fine to be off grid, and many people have a hybrid situation, or some people have a hybrid situation where they have solar, but it's grid tied. Some of our accessory structures are off grid or will be off grid, so that's easier to do. And the second question was makeup of our members. So initially it was mostly people 55 and older, and we've made, those are folks who could kind of make that transition and make it happen. Usually had like enough resources to buy a property and build a house or sell a house somewhere else and put it into here. We've had a bigger push for younger folks because we want to be age diverse and diverse in general. And so that's been somewhat successful. We want to keep working on that. We have some families with children there now. Helps. The more people see, other families see other children, that makes it easier. As far as how people work and support themselves, we have high-speed internet. So some people work from home. Some people commute to a job. Some people have a hybrid situation. One person has a business in the community. Well, there's two businesses in the community. One's a health-related business. One's a folk school. And some people are retired. All right, I can talk more about any of those, but I wanted to get to your question. So the zoning is a big issue that impedes creative alternatives. So Lucas, you all been able to find a little bit of flexibility in the zoning, it sounds like, to come up with what you've got. We were fortunate, the zoning was very flexible in our town that allowed for a very unique situation, a lot of flexibility. But I will say that zoning has now changed, and so no one could come do what we're doing again in our location, which is frustrating. There's a lot of so I'd say the zoning limits opportunities, and mainly the zoning. So zoning is set up primarily, it's set up by the municipality, city, or the county, some jurisdiction, and it limits what you can do based on what's zoned for that area. And typically it tries to have different uses be in different locations. So industrial one place, residential another place, high density residential another place, business another place, as opposed to the traditional model, which is more a mixing of those, like a downtown where there was also housing above the storefronts, etc. So most zoning in North Carolina, I can't speak for other places, follows a practice of separating uses, so not combining residential next to business, for example. And it also puts limitations on like the density you can have, how big, a lot of things are like, what's the minimum lot size? How much frontage you have to have on a street, on a public street, and a whole range of other things like that. So if you're trying to do something more flexible, maybe clustering for efficiencies and then leaving open space, that can be harder. Some municipalities have provided some flexibility for doing some more creative things, but it's usually single-use options like residential. So like planned unit development, which would allow clustering and preservation of open space, but usually not mixing of different things okay, so some communities do allow that and encourage it too, because it is a traditional pattern. So depending on where you're at, but it's usually a special use permit, a conditional use permit, etc. So it can't typically be grown sort of organically. It has to be a master plan, which tends to mean, you have to have a lot of money, or a big developer can usually take advantage of that. But maybe a from the grounds up kind of effort, it's hard to make that happen. So I'd say the zoning's a big challenge. And then just the cost. We see this everywhere. I see it in, we work with affordable housing and Habitat for Humanity. So just the cost of housing is a detriment to a lot of people, wherever it is, even alternative housing. It's not necessarily cheaper to build a greenhouse. What we tell people is, it will cost more probably, but you're gonna get that back over time, and you're gonna use less energy and there'll be less greenhouse gas. So there's lots of reasons to do it, but it may cost 5% more than not doing those things, or 10%. You put solar panels on, you get some of that back in tax rebates, but that's an upfront cost. So I see a lot of people would be interested, but they can't come up with the capital even to do a modest new house.
Yeah. So I'm hearing those challenges being zoning and just the finances to make a project happen. Yeah, those are some big challenges. Yep. Yeah. Oh, Leslie here has a question about the cost per square foot. I'm sure it's changed a lot since many of the houses that you've built already.
Leslie, let me tell you, as a builder, we do not like this question because there's so many variables. But I know where you're probably coming from, which is like, I'll just say, when we get asked that question of living well, it's usually because people are trying to figure out, can I make this work? So I understand that. That said, there are a lot of variables because every house, you can have a lot of differences in what you put into a house, and how many things you customize, etc. So generally in our area, a conventional house is costing $200 to $250 a square foot to build. And that's like something that's like 1,500 square feet size. It actually costs more per square foot if you make it smaller, because no, I'm not getting into green building at the moment. I'm just talking conventional, because that's why I can give you more accurate numbers on, and then I can tell you how that's different for green building or natural building. So it's more per square foot as you get smaller, because your kitchen and bathroom, which are your higher, intense areas where you have a lot more stuff, your plumbing and your cabinets and all the other things. So they're more percentage of the house, and your and your ratio of exterior walls to interior space are higher. So your exterior walls are more expensive, obviously, because you've got siding, windows, doors, insulation in them, etc. So there's a couple points to this. If you build smaller, it's going to be more per square foot, typically. If you build larger, it's actually less per square foot, but it's more overall. But building smaller takes less to heat, cool, maintain, etc. So there are other benefits. If you're trying to build like a natural building, like out of cob or straw bale or something, you're basically trading more labor for less material costs if you can get the materials locally and inexpensively. They tend to be pretty labor intensive. And then it depends on what, for us, all our residences have to be, permitted and have to meet state building code, which you can do an alternative structure. We have a lot of alternative structures, but they have to be permitted and meet building code requirements, which means an engineer might need to be involved if it's an alternative structure, etc. We sometimes have people ask, like, can I come, like, just live in a yurt on a lot? And the answer is yes and no. We're fortunate in our town allows people to live in a temporary structure while they're building. They have to get a permit to do that. So you could live in an RV or a tent while you're building a more permanent structure. But ours, we're in a town, so we have our town zoning, and so they do require permanent structures to be permitted and legal structures. Now, if you have an accessory structure, like you already have a permanent structure and you put an accessory structure, accessory dwelling unit or studio or whatever, there's more flexibility about that.
Gotcha.
Lucas, do you want to respond to any of that?
Well, just, what contributes to this success and seeing more communities in this region and all around the world. The permaculture background in me has thinking about context and just having very intimate, deep awareness of the local community, the regional, local government, and what are these ordinances, what are these laws in place, what are the restrictions, and then based on that, the parcel of land that the community ends up devoting to, what wants to happen on that land. Maybe it wants to be just nature reserve, maybe it wants to be mostly education, maybe there wants to be people living there. So community can happen in many different ways. So I would say context, and then kind of that special blend of the talents and creative contributions that people have when they come together and really devote a lot of energy in finding ways to have systems that facilitate that process, that facilitates that, instead of making it hard for people to come together. A challenge in our community right now is that a significant number of our meetings are still in Zoom because so many of us are 30 minutes away from each other. And my strong opinion is that if we had more in-person gatherings and in-person community process, we'd be able to make a lot of progress more quickly. But those are some of the things that come to mind. Community, must be place-based in my mind, even though there are a lot of ideas and analogs that we can use as inspiration. It still needs to be very much what wants to arise here.
Go ahead, Harvey.
Leslie, I'm not sure what all your question is, but another piece of information is like the community structure we built, which is like has a concrete floor, and it's just over 1,000 square feet, 32 by 32. So it cost us $32,000, which is really a great deal. Well, as a builder, I would say it's a great deal. That seems like a lot for a picnic shelter, but it's more than a picnic shelter because it's designed so that it can be closed in. So everything was done so that it could move from being a picnic shelter to being a finished building. But to have 1,000 square feet for 32,000, that comes out to
Calculators coming out.
$320 per square foot.
how much?
32. $320, right?
No.
$32.
Okay, you scared me there.
$32. Nice.
But that's probably half of. We did some of the work ourselves. I acted as a general contractor, for free. I did the design for free. We used subcontractors that I knew that could give us a good deal and would do good work. So, there are ways to get work done that's less. And like that's an example of a community structure. It's not a house and what it costs. I'll just say it's an ongoing issue for, I think, everybody, how to deal with the cost of a building.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Thank you, Harvey, for all of that information. And I think to Lucas's point around the more that people can come together in the places where they live, have that in-person time to get creative and come up with solutions, the more things we can make happen as a community. So I want to leave on that optimistic note, because I know there's a lot of challenges, but I also know there's many people listening who have a dream for community and joining one or starting a new one wherever you live. And so I really do want to encourage you to draw on us as resources and examples of what's possible. And then, yeah, as Lucas said, you're going to have to figure out what will work in your particular context. So thank you both so much for your time today, especially as you're in the eye of the storm there with the hurricane, and hoping that everyone stays safe and well and that you don't have too much water coming down. Yeah, there it is. Thank you, Lucas, giving us a little taste there. Better than the news.
I just want to ditto that, Cynthia. It is challenging, but it's worthwhile challenge. And I think for many of us, or I'll speak for myself anyway, when you look at the world we're in, we're saying, what are the things we can do? And this is one of them. So
absolutely. Yeah. Yep. No other work I'd rather be engaged in myself. So yeah, thank you all very much. Take care. Thank you everyone for listening. Looking forward to next time.